Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to do some more work with line plots today. I'm excited, so let's go ahead and get started. Lesson 7 from Module 6. Our learning target is to now be able to represent measurement data using a line plot. So yesterday, we looked at line plots, we talked a little bit about the data, and we're able to interpret line plots. Now we're going to actually create the line plots. It's actually a lot of fun. And so let's look at our application problem. Now with this application problem, it's asking us a series of questions about the data that's going to help us create a line plot. And so pay attention to these questions. The similar questions, you're going to ask yourself similar questions each time you go to make a line plot. The wording might be just a little bit different because we're not talking about straws in all of them, but let's go ahead and read the question and see what it's talking about, and then we'll jump into it. The chart shows the lengths of straws measured in Mr. Han's class. How many straws were measured? Explain how you know. What is the smallest measurement on the chart? The greatest? Were the straws measured to the nearest inch? How do you know? Go ahead and pause the video, give this a try. I'm going to go ahead and jump into my explanation now. So the first thing we want to do is answer this part A. And I'm going to label it part A. How many straws were measured? There's a few ways that I could do this. I could just count each one, but each one of these is the straw length. So I could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we know multiplication. There's a faster way. So if I count one of these rows, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can see that each row has 5. So I'm going to count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20. There's 20 straws. And I'm going to just explain what I just did. I'm going to say there are 20 straws. I'm going to say I know because I skip counted by 5. I could have also multiplied. I could have counted by ones. Could have counted each one. But that's what I did. I skip counted by 5s. So that's my explanation. Okay. What is the smallest measurement on the chart and what is the greatest measurement on the chart? So I'm going to go through this. This is how I like to do it. I see right here I've got a 3. So let's see if there's anything smaller than 3. Okay, this one is smaller than 3. It has a 2 and 3/4, so it's not quite 3. Let's see if there's another one that's smaller. Just looking at all the numbers. Okay, it looks like this one is our smallest one right here. So I'm going to say 2 and 3/4 is the smallest. It didn't ask for an explanation on this one, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But it did also ask for which one is the greatest. So I'm going to do the same thing. Here's a 3. 4 is bigger. 4.5 is still bigger. 4 and 3/4 is bigger. Oh, here's a 5. Is there one bigger than 5? Okay, 5 is going to be our winner here. So 5 is the greatest. Oh, something happened. I was right in there. 5 is the greatest. Okay. So that was B. Now let's go ahead and jump into C. What were the straws, or were the straws measured to the nearest inch? How do you know? So in this one, they're asking, how do I know that? So it says right here that the straws were measured in inches. But here's the thing. These aren't all whole numbers. This is 1/2. If this was if this was measured to the nearest inch, we wouldn't be counting 1/2 an inch or 3/4 of an inch. So the answer to this one, were the straws measured to the nearest inch, is no. No, the straws were measured to the nearest 1/4 inch. I'm running out of room here. I'm going to abbreviate inch. And I ran out of room on this particular slide to write how do I know. But the reason that I know that it's not measured to the nearest inch is because we have a quarter inch and we have a half inch. Those fractions wouldn't be there if we rounded to the nearest inch. So now we're going to go and look at making a line plot itself. And we're going to think about those questions that they asked when we need to make them. So one of the things that we start with is the title of our line plot. What do we want to name it? And this is straw lengths. So we could call it Mr. Han's class's straw lengths, or we might just title it straw lengths. Always capitalize your titles. And then I need to tell everybody that this is in inches. I'm running out of room. Let's see. Let's just put it with the title. In inches. We'll see later. There's usually a spot that you can write down your key, but I tried to make this really big so that we could see it. And I ran out of room. So, oh well. The first question they asked when we were looking at this application problem was how many straws were measured and how do we know? That's important so that we know how much space we need above this number line. And it's good to know how much data you have. The next question asks, what is the smallest measurement on the chart? Now this is really important because when we make our number line, we could start it at 0 and go up to 10, but we're not using that whole number line. And so if we know where our numbers start, that gives us a spot that we can put it. Now I'm going to include all the whole numbers. So my smallest number was this 2 3/4. I'm going to have my number line start at 2. Oh man, I did not have enough room. Let's try this. Move this up as high as we can. There we go. And we'll move this. Oh my, it's not cooperating. Okay, there we go, 2. We'll move our title. And we can put that it's in inches down here, maybe. Now we'll leave it up here. So I also need to know what the biggest one is. And looking at that last question, we'll go back a slide. The largest one was 5. So I can actually have this go from 2 up to 5, and I should be able to get all of these numbers on there. And I'm going to think about what whole numbers do I need to add first. So I've got 2, I'm missing 3 and 4, so I'm going to add those in. I'm going to try to space them out equally. It helps if you have your pen selected, I guess. And here, we're going to label these. This is 3, this is 4. And then I know one of the questions was also, were the straws measured to the nearest inch? They were not. They were measured to the nearest quarter inch. So that's an important question because now I have to go ahead and add in the quarter inches. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark that's half. We split halves in halves to get quarters. Split this in half. Each half we split in half. Split these up. So now I've got my quarter inches, and I am going to make my pen a little bit smaller so that I can maybe add, this is 2 1/2. This is 2 3/4. This is also 2 2/4. This one is 2 1/4. 3, 3 1/4. 3 2/4, or 3 1/2. It doesn't want me to write that too. Okay. 3 3/4. And 3 4/4 are 4 whole. And then same thing here. And And it's good to have this information because then it's going to make it easier as I'm going forward to just transfer the data. Okay, we've got our line plot set up. We've got our title. We're talking about straw lengths. Is to the nearest inches. I'm going to change my color. Now I need to actually add the information. This takes a little bit of time, but there's a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. So we want to try to minimize that. There's a couple strategies that you can take. The first one is to just go across the number line and say, do I have any 2s? No. Do I have any 2 1/4? No. Do I have any 2 1/2? No. Do I have any 2 3/4? Yes. I'm going to put an X here, and I'm going to mark this X, this one off here that I've done it. And then if you miss one, when you're finished, you can see, oh, I have it. The other method is very similar. You can just go across your table and you can say, oh, I need to put a 3. So let's put a 3. Let's cross that 3 off. I need to put a 4. Let's cross this 4 off. I need to put 4 1/2. Let's cross that off. I highly recommend, though, that you cross off the numbers after you put them on the line plot. That way you can keep track of ones that you've put. Sometimes you'll have numbers that are the same. So let's look right here. This is 3 3/4. So I put 3 3/4. This is 3 3/4. I'm going to put that X just above it. Okay, and you got to make sure that you cross it off when you do it. Let's keep going. Let's try to finish this up. I like going just through the number line. It's too much work for me to go across, to go through the data, not through the number line. We've got 4 1/2, add another X, 3 1/4. You want to try to keep your X's at about the same level so that you can easily see which one has the most. But you can see I'm not quite doing it. This one's just a little bit higher than this one, so hopefully that won't mess me up later. 3 3/4, 3 1/4. It's the first one for that one. 5, 3, 3 1/2, 4 1/2, 4 3/4, 4, 3 1/4, 5, and 4 1/4. I have all my data. There is something that I forgot though. I ran out of room, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this picture. Oh, we can't do it. Okay, never mind. I'm just going to add the key off to this side. You'll find them in different places, but I'm just going to put a little note right here. X is equal to 1 straw. So then we know, what does that X even mean? So now that I've taken all that data, I've organized it into a line plot, I can answer some questions about it, like which measurement was the most frequent or came up the most. And I can see 4 came up the most, but also 4 1/2 came up the most. They both came up 3 times. Which measurement came up the least? Now this one's a little bit tricky because of the ones I measured, 2 3/4 and 3 1/2 came up the least. These ones weren't valid measurements. So I maybe should have made my line plot a little bit differently. That's confusing. Okay. But that measurement came up and it came up the least. Now these are all measurements. So we're talking about taking a ruler and measuring how high something is. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first question on the problem set. It's going to be very similar. And you can see this is what I was talking about. They gave you a place to put the title. They gave you a place to put the label. That was inches. They gave you a place for the X. What does that X mean? It says, Mrs. Weiss's class grows beans for a science experiment. The students measure the heights of their bean plants to the nearest 1/4 inch and record the measurement as shown below. They gave us a table. Use the data to complete the line plot below. So let's talk about titles. What would be a good title for this? Would fish sticks be a good title for this? No, this has nothing to do with fish sticks. If I measured fish sticks, then I could title it the length of fish sticks, but that's not what we're talking about. It's right here, the height of bean plants. So we're going to say height of bean plants. That's our title. The label, they measured it in inches, so we're going to say inches. And you might say, well, Mr. Sayre, they measured to the nearest quarter inch. Wouldn't we want to say that it's in the nearest quarter inch? Well, no, because if we look at how they labeled this line at the bottom, we see that they included the quarter inches. And they did better than me. They started with only the data they had. Their smallest one is here and their biggest one is here. I just thought it might be easier to make a fresh number line if we had the whole numbers first and then divided it up to get it nice and spaced evenly. The x's, each x is going to represent one bean plant. Okay. Now I showed you my favorite method of just going through and saying, oh, this is 2 1/4, so let's mark it, let's cross it off. But let me try the other method just for a little bit. And this is what you guys are going to be doing because you guys need the practice to make these line plots. You don't need to just watch me do it. So I'm going to look through, I'm going to try this other method. 1 3/4. I've got 1 right here. Oh, there's another one, 2. See, I almost missed it. 3. Going through the list, it's kind of like a word search. Here's the 4th one. Okay, now 2s. Here's a 2. Mark our 2 off. Here's another 2. Mark that off. That looks like it's all the 2s. Now, if I had missed a 2, since I only crossed them off once I put them on, it would still be on there. And then later I can go, oops, I missed that one. Let me add it back in. Okay. So do some sort of method when you are making these line plots. Make sure that it makes sense to you, that you can keep track of what you've done and what you still need to do. And just give it a try. Just practice with it. From last year, what I can tell you is I saw students that would miss one, and when they would ask a question like, which one was the most frequent, if you miss a couple, then you might not have the right answer because you don't have all of them marked on your chart. You might not be able to see which one is the most frequent. And so it's easy to make a mistake, but if you have some sort of method that you follow, it'll decrease the chance of making that mistake. Okay, good luck with making your making your line plots today. And let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. And this is a short module. We're almost done with it. Can you believe it? By the end of the week, we'll be done with this module. I miss you guys. I look forward to seeing you online tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your day.